You're up, Commissioner.
All right, Bannock County Commissioners are now in session. Let's go ahead and start with Kyle.
Hi, we're not getting pushed very hard. Unless Christie gets mad at us.
You're on the clock.
Kyle Burmester, Bannock County Public Works Director.
Buddy Romero, Assistant Public Works Director.
Bring Buddy in with me today because wanted to update a little bit on what's going on with the fleet. But for our update for this month, we're noxious weed. We've got our seasonals. That program we did was amazing to where we were having trouble with seasonals, and then we did that where Buddy and Matthew and them went out and whatever that was.
The job fair.
The job fair. And we were able to acquire some good, we're hoping they're gonna be good, and they're hired now, and they're just starting to get trained, and
We signed salary rate approval forms.
working with them, and so that worked out pretty good for us. Right now, they're just kind of training the new guys, getting them acquainted with what their job duties are gonna be, and we started roadside sterilant. We're starting to train them on that. And last year we got a new roadside truck, and this year we had got a new roadside truck, so we have one of them switched over. We used the bed from the old one because of the pumps and everything were still in good shape, so we just put the bed on a new truck. And so they're trying out the new truck. We're not gonna switch the other new truck over till we know that the first one's working good.
Saw Kathy driving up the road yesterday or the day before.
But yeah, they're starting to get going. It's gonna start to get to be their busy time. Mosquito department or abatement department, there's same thing, seasonal started, worked good with job fair. They're training them right now. Dana's been checking water sources and finding larvae in the water, which is a little bit early, so the mosquitoes are wanting to hatch. Buddy kind of knows more on that than me, but
Get a couple of warm days here.
so we're already, it's a little earlier than normal, but we're already starting to treat water sources and standing water and different things like that. Dana has had quite a bit of practice flying the drones, feeling comfortable with it. They're getting what licensing needed and stuff, and all that's a go, and so this year we should be able to do a little more drone flight. I think when Dana sees the difference of that and the manual way of doing it.
Does that take pictures?
So this one doesn't, but we have the other one that does. So we've been kind of talking with Emma a little bit. We're gonna fly the small drone, which is the survey drone or whatever. If you need to survey an area, it will do videos or pictures. The big one, is just mainly for it's got a camera, but it's not set up really to do that kind of stuff. We're gonna actually film the big one doing its job, and then do some filming of some of the road work going on, stuff like that, so she can start doing some of that. But I haven't got with Scott yet. I was asking him about flying the fairgrounds building and the other building up here as like, here's where we're at today kind of thing, so we could do a little bit of stuff like that. It's kind of neat when you can kind of zoom around it and then fly up and see it from above. But some of the things we're looking at with that.
We was at an activity earlier this week, and Chubbuck had a little drone. So Bannock County should have been there with their 3.5 foot drone, taking pictures.
Yeah, the little ones do the best. They're getting pretty technical now. They'll follow you. They'll do all sorts of
It
stuff.
was a little windy though the other day. So.
But yeah, so there is that. If you guys have something that you want done like that, we do have that smaller drone with the capabilities of doing that, and the licensing to fly over people and different things like that.
So who's the experts at flying and filming?
Dana's the expert on the spraying one, and Buddy's been involved with with all of it. Last year we had, my son did, that's where we got our videos last year, that's what kind of got us to want to do it more is, for his senior project and stuff, he came and shadowed a little bit and he flew his drone and took the videos for us, so then and showed us how that works so that we could do it, so it was kind of neat to see, but.
Dana and I are both licensed to
Okay,
fly and all that, so, yeah, you have to have a applicators, or not applicators, but an area license in order to treat and then also to fly the drone because it's over 55 pounds, so that was a pretty fun task that we got to do to try to get through all that testing, but, so.
And then and then if you fly, are gonna be flying over people.
There's some regulations on that we gotta look a little bit further into, but yeah, like, there's some things that we could do there for events and stuff if we needed, so.
Yeah. Kind of all on the mosquito. On roads, we're blading gravel roads right now. We got 6 blades out right now, blading as fast as we can on gravel roads before all the other work starts. They are also tuning up the roads that we're going to mag chloride. We mag chloride and do that amendment to the road on about 63 miles around the county. And them are mostly, it's dust control, but then it's also, if you get high enough traffic, that's kind of like your next stage from a gravel road to try to maintain it, because when you get so much traffic on it, you'd have to blade it 4 or 5 times per year. So we mag them so they'll hold up throughout the year. We're hauling dirt right now to the fairgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
We had a gap, so we got the trucks hauling that way, and he said after today, I don't know if it's gonna be all they need, but we'll have a pile big enough that we can't find anywhere else to stack it. So we'll see how it goes there, but we should have them everything they need to keep moving.
And you're hauling from the event center.
Hauling from the event center.
Pressler Road. I
Okay.
got harassed by Hatley. Are you grading that?
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that all the gravel's off and so I thought, oh, yeah. So anyway, he just said all the gravel, it needs to be rolled back in and go.
And that's what they're doing right now.
And maybe add a little bit of gravel. He said there's some areas, I just told him I would bring it up. But
So there's that Thacker Road through there, or through the Robin
yeah,
area.
Yeah,
And like to where he lives and where there's stuff, there's more, like,
Okay.
because there's more usage. But then as you go on, yes, then there's some still pretty just dirt roads with a little bit of gravel. We don't have very many of them left, but that's one of them.
Okay.
But we're just kind of going off of usage. But with our road program, we're trying to get it set up that we go like 7 years, and then on the 8th year you can just do all dirt work, like shoulders, gravel roads, haul gravel to them. So we're kind of looking at different spots that we could put that year, because it don't really have to be at this year. We can change it in our program, and we're kind of looking at some different ways we might do that, whether that money would help with the building of our new master plan. I don't know, we're kind of, but that's when we can do a lot more of that. We're so busy that we add a little bit where we can, but the gravel roads, it's all based on what's usage. If there's just a few farmers using a section out there, it's not.
yeah, I talked to him and I said, well, we'll see. I told him I'd harass you over it, but anyway, he got me cornered the other day, and I understand what he's talking about, because
Yeah.
if you don't have anything to work with there in that base,
Yeah.
so anyway.
And there's a few roads out there that we need to like take, the sides of the road are higher than the road, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like a trough where we need to bring them down, build the road up, but that takes some time.
They brought up Inman Road to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Talk about traffic.
yeah, we got
Yeah.
a pretty full schedule.
I listened to him and told him I'd pass it on.
And that's kind of what I try to tell them. I mean, we have some roads that are like, because we put counters on them, and it's like you see 4 cars or 1 car a day or something, and it's just really hard to pass up, say, something like Inman, because we're out there. So I got to really try to judge where the usage is.
I get it, so,
Yeah. But we're out there right now doing
Okay.
them roads, but,
okay.
Well, appreciate you hauling that down to McCammon too, right now. Glad to
Yeah.
Have a little break. Or down
Yeah,
there.
right. Right now, we have a little bit of gap with some of the guys going from one project to another, and so Dustin said he had a few free guys waiting for this next project, and so we hurried and thought, let's hurry and haul it now, so they should be pretty good there. In the next week, we're gonna start doing more mag chloriding. We started a little bit, but our main stuff's gonna happen here starting next week, where we start getting semi-loads coming in, and then we're really going. That and the mastic machine that Buddy came in and got the rental for. If you kind of look around in like Chubbuck area and stuff, you'll see some of these black stripes going down the road that are about yay wide and stuff. That's kind of a newer thing. It's been out for a few years, but we had them come and demo it last year. Some of the problems we have is, especially when we used wrap in the days before, the recycled asphalt, the meat line in the center of the road, if that doesn't get connected good, have enough oil to connect good, that's a problem area, and then you start getting your potholes and stuff. So we tried it on a section out in the Chubbuck area, and it works amazing. It sealed that all up, and it's just kind of it's an oil with real low voids of, it's got aggregate in it and fiber stuff in there, and it comes in these boxes, and you throw it in the machine, it heats it up, and then it just comes out the back. But we're gonna try hitting all of our little spots that we have that are bad with that before we chip. We're gonna be chipping a lot of roads in surrounding Chubbuck. So if you see everything on the outskirts of Chubbuck turn black this year, that's what's going on. So if you live out there, but because we're trying to center our work in different areas instead of bouncing everywhere. But you can even use this stuff, this mastic, we have some spots that are rutted. Like if you come up to some of these intersections, especially if it rains, you'll see the truck ruts from farm trucks, whatever. You can put it in there and it'll keep it level. It won't rut it back out. And so then once we put that in and then chip it, then you'll have that smooth back. So it's a pretty neat deal, and we're kind of testing it out this year, see if we like it.
I'll be interested to hear how it goes.
But we'll let you know when
I
we're.
drive on it every day and it works. On Hawthorne Road,
Mhm.
that has made a difference there, because of the ruts.
Mhm.
You call it the meat line?
The center line where the two lanes meet, the meat line.
No, this, where the ruts are.
Yeah.
So, but then they put that down there, in fact, right down Hawthorne Road, and I'm amazed how well that's,
So we're gonna do it that it's right before when we chip also, so you'll only see them for a little bit
Yeah.
before we cover the whole thing up, but, yeah, it's been working for a lot of people. It's hard to even get a rental on the machine right now. It's so big. The state's got into it now, but you can fill cracks, and it's a self-leveling, and it won't shrink. Where if you put like asphalt in, it usually kind of conveys, it'll compact and shrink. So there's a lot of different uses for it. So we're gonna try it on all different stuff this year.
Good.
See how it goes. And we're shoulder and patching. You want to say a little bit of what you got going with our small fleet?
what about weight limits? You still got them on?
They're still on. Things have been going good. We've been seeing that some of the locals have kind of lowered, instead of doing farmer loads, they're kind of trying to keep within guidelines. the roads are getting to the point that we're looking at coming back before you first of the month, next month, of opening them back up.
Okay.
So for the fleet stuff, I'll receive the last truck today, which has been a nightmare. So that truck's been in Salt Lake for about 2.5 months. Is what had happened is someone had broke into the trains and stole several of the batteries in the trucks.
Really?
And this just happened to be one of them. And so the protocol that Chevy had to release the vehicle back to the salesperson was daunting. It took a long time to get through that, but he was finally able to get through that process. And
Is that a P&Z vehicle?
no, it's Daniel's half ton that's similar to your guys's. So we'll get that today and probably get that back to him Monday, hopefully, and we should be finished with all the purchase stuff. But just as a reminder, for last year, we purchased 14 new vehicles. We will continue to reallocate, but there's 13 total reallocations. And then this summer, I'll come before you and planning on auctioning about 16 vehicles too. So we'll reduce our fleet by about 4 vehicles in total. And obviously we're updating them, so it'll be good to get that newer fleet in the line. And Kyle and I have been working on the stuff for next year, and hopefully we continue this process and get rid of some of those older cars that we have. So that's really all I had though on fleet.
And you just brought today the 2 Equinoxes that will
Yep.
go into the
Yep, they're out front and they're a nice little rig. They're just an LT, so about this base model as you can get, but it's nothing like the work truck. They got all the goodies, I guess, in them for an LT. So I think that's the direction I'm hoping to go next year, is just kind of make that the county policy that we'll only go with LTs rather than go into the work truck just for the safety features that you can get with cameras and powered mirrors and things like that. But so
When will you have the new fleet stuff budget sheets go out next week?
we're pretty well complete on it. So I can get that to you if you need it.
Are you gonna send that directly to departments, or
Yeah.
just CC me when you throw it to departments?
Okay, yeah, I will.
Okay, that way we can make sure they include it.
Can plan on it. Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Only other thing we had is, this month we went fully live with our new asset management program. And kind of like I was talking about in our department head meeting, that this is going to be the last rebuild that was the way it was before, and then the next one's going to be with the new system and be a little bit different looking. One thing is we're started looking into the new asset and we're switching things over. I was looking at, in the past we've tried to bill departments for miscellaneous shop supplies. So we have a shop supply line that's around 40 to 50,000. It kind of varies as it changes as we go budget to budget. But so there's some ways they were doing it in the past, and I wanted to try to see if we could correct that moving forward. Talking with Christy a little bit on what was going on. I don't even think how we had it set up that it was even going back to Road and Bridge. It was just kind of circling. So we charged and then it paid back in the rebill, and it wasn't really doing anybody any good to be doing it that way. There's a couple different suggestions we have. We could do, if we could do like a shop rate, that it was each hour that a vehicle is inside the shop, it's $10-20, and that makes up that time. Then they're just getting charged for that time that's in the shop to try to make up for the miscellaneous, which is, miscellaneous is all just the torch gas, bolts, nuts,
Shop towels.
Shop towels.
Wiper fluid.
It's not like building maintenance or anything like that. It's grinding wheels and all that, brake cleaner, them kind of things. So it's kind of, I guess I'm looking for some suggestions or which way the commission would like to see that. Is that enough money to worry about? Do we want to track it still?
When we had our conversation, it's pretty arbitrary. You don't know how much of any of that stuff you're using on any of the county non-road and bridge vehicles. So is it really enough money that we even need to reallocate it to the departments, or can we just call that a road and bridge supply and not increase like a 10% or try to even come up with a shop rate that may or may not truly reflect the cost? It's just a shuffle of dollars is really all it is. So if we just charge hard costs, then that's what we're doing. And we're not charging labor anyways, so this would just be one more thing we're not charging.
What's the point of tracking it if it's not accurate?
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle needs to track it, it needs to be in his budget, and he needs to know how much he's spending on grinding wheels, shop towels, all the miscellaneous things. That can be tracked on just how many gallons of washer fluid did you use this year, and that's accurate. But if it's not accurate to the department, why track it?
Well, and that, I go back when we start talking about leasing and all that kind of stuff, and we was talking about doing the maintenance outside. Well, we have a department that has the ability to do it, and that's why we brought it in-house and keep it in-house and keep people employed. And you say that the money before was either, just kind of circulating. Well, I think that that's what it's supposed to do, is circulate. I mean, if whatever the equipment that you're replacing, it just kind of goes back in and buys it the next one. So I don't think it's a bad process already. I mean, if you have concerns about it, we can talk about it. But honestly, if it's been working and it's one of them deals that we're still transparent in where we're spending the funds.
Well, what was happening is they had a 10% markup in a couple of different categories. And that 10% may or may not be truly reflecting the shop supplies and those kind of items. And so that's where we thought, right now they can measure how much a part is. They just add the part, rebill it to the department. Same thing with fuel. And then we're going to clean up the tires, and the departments will start paying for their own tires instead of rebilling. That's just extra work these guys were doing. And so what we're talking about doing is just taking away that 10% markup.
And we still can run reports off of what's going through the shop based for just informational wise of what departments, how many hours they're spending at the shop. We still track all that. We track the employees' hours, the parts. That's all still being tracked. It wouldn't change anything. It's just kind of the part of, do you want to see that circulating or not? Because it's not really going back to like road and bridge.
But it goes back to what Jason just said. You're in your budget, it's pretty tough to guesstimate how much you're going to spend in shop supplies. I mean, that's a big challenge. And so the 10%, I don't have a problem with that because it's as transparent as we can be, in my opinion. Like, unless, you don't want to be worried about every nickel in this situation. To me, you do, this is our general coverage. Because I'm generally a nickel guy, but this is one of them deals that it's almost impossible to say we're going to have this much in shop supplies this year. It just depends. As we get new vehicles, it should go down. But we're in the middle of all that stuff. I think that we're a little early in trying to put it that close. I don't know, Ken.
I have two sides to that. I'm speaking as an accountant. My biggest problem with maintaining all of the costs in the road and bridge, we're not being fair to the other funds. For instance, your landfill is a completely different fund. I think they should be assessed Because if we didn't have our own shop, they would have to be paying somebody to do that. There is a cost. I really think the same way with Parks and Rec. I think there should be, and maybe even the Sheriff's Department for their purpose, where's all the fleet? I think there is some merit in whether it's a 10% or an overhead rate, whatever, however we come to that, separating that out into the departments so that they are being held accountable. Otherwise, they're saying, well, it didn't really cost us that much. Road and Bridge looks like you're absorbing all the costs, which isn't necessarily true. So I get that sometimes you don't need to nickel and dime, but I think at some point, whether we do it annually, because you can go back 2 or 3 years and kind of get a rough estimate of what your shop overhead is, and say, fine, for landfill, we need to charge them either upfront in their budget, X amount of dollars, or whether we do it by invoice, by vehicle. I'm not sure which way to do it, but I do see a merit in spreading the costs out to where they really are incurred. It's part of a management deal. Especially, I don't know how many fleet outfits the Sheriff's Department got, but they got a ton of them. You have equipment at the landfill that is very expensive. If the Road and Bridge absorbs all of that, is that really the true picture? And I'm not, especially where it's a fee-based type of a thing. Parks and Recreation, we look at that every year trying to go, is it holding its own or not? Well, if we're absorbing all those costs into Road and Bridge.
Parks and everything is charged.
Yeah,
right?
I went.
Parks,
So that's the big
That's the big picture.
cost.
We're only talking a little bit,
Talking about-
and I talked with Kyle about that, but there is shop towels, there's floor dry, I get all of that, what it is, and whether we charge that annually to, you get $5,000.
It depends how deep you want to go.
Yeah.
Because who pays for all the janitorial? Who pays for all?
Exactly, and
I
so.
mean, who
This
pays
is
for-
government. Government works different than private sector.
And that's what I'm saying, the accounting side of me says, we need to pass those costs
In
on.
private sector.
The government side of it, I get all that, I guess what are we trying to measure? Are we trying to measure cost effectiveness of the Road and Bridge versus the other departments? What's the outcome? What are you trying to measure? If we're just gonna allocate $50,000 for shop overhead and everybody gets to use it, I'm okay with that as long as we understand that that's not the total picture of landfill when it comes down to do we need to raise the per ton basis out there, and why do we do that? Do we the true cost? I'm okay either way. All I'm doing is throwing that out that I think you could come up with a shop rate. You could cut whether it's a percentage or just say per hour. Every time your vehicle's in that hour, you're going to charge $2 or whatever that could be. And I think you could come up with that without a lot of effort, but I'm okay either way. I think between now and budgeting, I think we can figure that one out, but.
What do you guys think will work best? And give them an idea of, like, what are those miscellaneous costs? Just guesstimating for, like, what's a good,
It's so hard though, because one might come in and it needs a bunch of little zip ties and they're using more rags and they're doing more, and one might use next to nothing.
it's so hard.
And
It's pretty tough.
Is it
and
something that if we just did a flat rate, would that be
Yeah.
easier? And we just say, it's parts plus $5 per car for miscellaneous, and would that come out in the wash? And then
Would it be any different from what we're
what
doing?
we're doing, it's no different.
I mean, would it just cause more paperwork? One way or another, in my
So,
opinion.
to me, I kinda liked right now we're doing a percentage off of parts, of doing it that you could kinda see, like you say, then you could kind of have a metric of where we're at with how much it's costing different departments to come to our shop, and the stuff that is used to make the things work, whether it's shop towels and the hoses and whatnot, as more of because right now we track, whether we charge or not, we track man hours for everything we do and the parts, and if it's in there in the shop and we say here's 50,000 and that you divide that by the hours, and so we know kind of where that is, and then you charge that per hour, and if it's $20 an hour, but are we you know, is that work that way, or do we put it on the parts? But like right now, for like the departments and stuff, the other departments, if we keep doing it, they're not gonna see a difference. I mean,
We're not
We're not-
operating in the red, though.
no,
Right?
no,
Nobody is.
and we're not making a decision that will affect these departments negatively, because they're already, in their rebill, it's already showing that higher. It's just whether we want to track it that way, or we do reports to track at the end of the year, this is what you used hour-wise in the shop or something. I guess it's more up to you. It doesn't affect us either way.
And then right now, where that 10%'s just been built into fuel and rebill, that's where that money is gone. We might need to change and take that shop charge and take it against the shop supplies, so that Road and Bridge has a true and accurate picture of how much their shop supplies are versus the rest of the county. So that would add maybe one journal entry for our office. Because if that's truly what it's for, it's where it should go. Not against vehicle repairs and not against fuel, which is where the
Yeah, it
journal is.
shouldn't, I don't think it should go against fuel. You know, if we're gonna track it, let's try it for what it is.
Yeah.
Shop overhead. Because if you go back 2 or 3 years, you could probably come a pretty good estimate about, is it higher this year than last year, and how come?
And
That's why
it-
you do that.
And it's in our budget,
Yeah,
because
so-
we've sat there and changed it, and it's got its own line item, so, I mean, we're seeing where it's been. It goes up a little, it hasn't changed a real lot, but,
Basically, all you want to do is change the name on a line item.
We're
on
gonna add a journal entry.
Yeah.
And a journal.
Yeah. So
I
we'll
mean-
So they can be
start charging
tracked.
departments for shop supplies.
Yeah.
I just don't want a bunch of extra work and extra
No.
programs and one of our mechanics saying, I gotta go charge this piece of paper towel. And I mean, I just,
well, and that's why we started with this, is it's like, that would create so much work if the mechanics were going, I used a washer, so I gotta write that down, I used a,
I don't
That's
think
horrible.
that's necessary. We're all in the same family.
Yep.
But if you can change the name and have a journal entry and identify that, that's fine too. That's the way I feel.
I do too, because then you could take that number, if you're weighing a fee change at the landfill, you could just say, okay, part of this, we need to make sure we're covering your shop rate on that. So, just so it's there and it's identified, not just a big pool of nothing that we don't know what it is.
and right now, the landfill is, paying for one of the mechanics. So them being an enterprise
Mhm.
fund, that's what's taking care of that.
Okay. So that's being built in that way.
So they're getting, for being an enterprise, they're getting billed that way.
Okay.
So, you got a solution? Go ahead and change the,
Yeah, change the name on that invoice, and then she can, like I say, journal entry it once a month, whenever,
Do
and,
it, we'll just do a fee at the bottom.
Okay.
It's gonna be either a percentage or a dollar amount for your shop supplies.
Yep.
And then that'll be broken out on the rebill. I can work with you guys on that side.
Okay.
But it'll
Okay.
equivalent.
And not
to
against fuel.
10%.
you know.
Yeah.
that's-
No, and that was one thing that was going on. Like I say, it was, when we looked into it, it was funny because it wasn't like going back into like a road and bridge thing, but it was adding it, but it just stayed the same as the rebill came around, so
it can be on fuel for the sheriff's office.
for sheriff, so like I say, they're not gonna see a change. There might be in your 26 budget. We'll have to look at what Christie thinks and go one more year and see how them pan out or whatever with the differences in rebill line item. But
Yeah.
other than that, because they should drop a little bit without that 10% on there.
Okay,
But, okay, perfect.
all right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Okay, Commissioner, before we take this up, I think Mr. Manu is not on the agenda, so the commission's going to have to move.
He's on the agenda for something else.
Oh, he's on the agenda for something else, so you want to take this up afterwards?
Yes.
Okay.
He's right here in the middle of my, he was late, I was like,
Tony, M.A.N.
Yeah, no, that's all right, that's all right.
okay.
Tony Montague, Bannock County Sheriff.
Alex Hamilton, Bannock County Sheriff's Office.
So I know there was limited information on this, but basically the ask today is in reference to our generator project. Because it became, we were allocated so much for that project, it came way under budget. So with that, I can't remember the exact how much.
Budget was
under.
300,000,
I
it
know it's
came in at
3,
152.
and it came in 152. So it left us some funds, obviously some extra funds, so that as we're doing our budget for 2026, some of the asks in that budget, we'd like to at least possibly utilize some of this money to mitigate some of the asks in our 26 budget. And the one main ask for this utilizing is obtaining a new detective vehicle. It'd be a narcotics vehicle. The current one that we want to replace is a 2015 Jeep. It's a combo with he's also a canine handler, which is strictly a drug dog. And to obtain a vehicle, I'm looking into lease returns, like whether it's through Bancorp. I've approached Bancorp and asked them for if they have a 1-year lease return, and a vehicle that was previously used as a detective vehicle. They do have some. It's just a matter of which vehicle we choose to take if this is approved. So, and they have lights in them already. It's more cost effective that way than it would be if I were to say, well, let's put it in for a lease for a brand new car. So we're trying to mitigate it and save money. I don't think they need a brand new car. I think like 1 year or 2 year lease return, because of the way they use it, would be sufficient. I've talked to the captain, I've talked to the detective that will utilize it, and they're fine with it. So that's the ask, and it's the cost. The last car I'd asked about, it was a RAV4. I probably shouldn't say that, but too loud. The range is between mid-20s to 30,000 for the vehicle, and that's like I said, some of the vehicles already have lights in them that are used for detective purposes. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
And this came up because when we had the auction of the sheriff's vehicles, I had mentioned to the board that we would potentially ask to use that money to get this NARC vehicle, because the generator bid came in so much less. My mind went to, why don't we just get it done now, not have to open the budget. It's going to be reserves dollars that would roll to next year anyways, so it would just put these guys ahead a little bit and reduce the ask for next year's budget.
So we can say no now or no later,
You can
is
say
what you're
no
saying?
when
You say whatever you want.
But
You can say whatever you want.
Well, and I went down and talked to Christie because on the agenda, I mean, there was no information.
Right.
And
And that was my bad, because
Well.
Teresa usually explains and over-explains, and
so
I looked
that's,
at it and said, yep, this looks good.
it's just one of them deals
It
that,
was me not.
if this is the first I ever hear something,
Right.
I just do not like that at all. But, and then that just brought up another deal, and we brought it up and we brought it up about who takes vehicles homes. In your department, in other departments and stuff, and then it just gets dropped. And I think this is still one of the discussions that we need to end up having. Rather, that's a separate discussion from this and stuff, but as we're purchasing new vehicles and stuff like that, I always think that Kyle or Buddy needs to be involved in all those things.
And they are.
Because, and that's what I say, we didn't get any of this information, and so that's my questions. Has Buddy, how many miles are on this vehicle? What's the reason to turn it out? Just because of mileage, because of usage? I mean, I don't have any of that information.
Right.
And part of this was just to see if it was an option to reallocate before they did a whole lot of legwork to figure out what projects we could do. if the vehicle was even an option, because if the board wasn't willing to reallocate the monies, then they would just stop dead in their tracks right there.
And then we would just knock out some projects.
And I have no problems talking about $30,000, but this project's been out and it's bid, but it's not complete. And I don't want to start shortchanging the generator, before it's complete.
My question of it is, these are ARPA funds?
No.
No.
Well, how come it says that?
It
on
did,
there?
that was a mistake.
Okay, because that was my struggle is.
If it was ARPA funds, we wouldn't even have
I wouldn't
the.
Yeah,
even
because
know.
I just, you're going, wait a minute,
No.
we can't roll that over to
This
26.
is,
We
this
don't
is
have-
budgeted
Okay.
money.
All right, so, okay, that's what I read on there, and
No.
I'm catching up. But, okay, so.
Yeah, these are questions I've been asking.
Yeah,
the other day.
And Teresa's request didn't say ARPA.
No.
Okay.
So what other projects are you wanting to use this money for?
Oh, man, there's projects that we had,
I guess that's the prioritizing is where I'm at.
right. Even if we did all the projects that we have allocated for this budget, current budget year, I mean, there was still enough money to probably do most of our projects that are allocated for this budget, current budget year.
Like I said, I'm just, 30,000, I have no problem with. I don't want to shortchange the generator. I mean, we're still in the middle of that. It hasn't been tore out yet. Every project that we have, every major project
Well,
we've
and
had
that-
has an overage.
And I will
on it.
say that probably, the purchase would be not even considered until that project was done. It's just a matter of, is this an option
Okay.
to mitigate, ask for next year's budget? If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, if the money is
Because we're aware of
available
that
right
as
now,
far as the generator, but
we budgeted this amount of money. I mean, but one of them deals at year end, and we're not buying everybody new chairs type deal.
yeah, chairs is an issue.
So on the vehicle, I'd say look into it, see what the price is and stuff. Ken?
And I'm getting behind again, a little bit.
Okay.
When you're talking about leasebacks from a bank,
From who we currently lease.
so you already have some that you're
From the
leasing
same
back?
company.
So it's actually, have we already had those in our fleet and we're
No.
just,
Well, we do have.
but then,
vehicles
so the
from
lease
Bank.
comes up, you're leasing it back, you wanna
We want to
release that
purchase from
vehicle?
another agency that leases from this
Okay.
company, and they've only leased it for a year,
Then you're looking to
and then
buy
it goes
it.
back to this company
So, but you're looking to buy.
to purchase
Right.
outright.
Okay,
and
rather
not
than,
lease.
yeah, so
Yes.
I get that. So, I'm not against that kind of philosophy either if, because usually your lease backs, you can get a pretty good
And that's why,
pretty good deal there, so.
in lieu of putting in for a brand new car next
Right.
budget, that was the whole,
Unless there's really a need for a new car, I'm okay with
right, and that's
purchasing
what we
lease.
figured.
We've all bought leasebacks cars personally instead of buying it off the lot, so I don't have a problem with that.
And like I
I
said,
think I'd like more information. Like you say, we're just throwing that out there, aren't we?
yes,
Okay.
it's just a matter, is this an option in order for us to mitigate our next year's budget?
And my opinion is yes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm $30,000 or right in that area, but I don't want to go further into
Right,
that other until we
but we
know
would
exactly where we're
also
at.
wait until, to make sure the project is not gonna go over budget, which,
I mean, we got a lot of room, but
Right.
still,
correct.
I'm looking at all the other projects that we're looking at. and
What's the timetable on that generator? I mean, is this gonna? it's
Well,
like-
they're currently doing the building, the same company that was
We
awarded.
brought that up last Tuesday. Who was waiting on?
I mean, I've heard about this, heard about it, but it's like a helpful man and an alien. You've heard about them, but never seen them.
Well, the fortunate thing is, the company that got awarded it is doing the building in the back.
Okay.
So they're there. It's just a matter of when are you gonna transition to the building right behind you.
Okay.
That they're working on.
I mean, 6 months, year?
I have, that's probably a
6 months, it'll,
A good-
yeah, it should be
Okay.
done.
Right
by
now,
6 months.
Shanda's waiting to send out the
Okay.
approval.
Yeah.
It's,
Right.
it just seems like it
That's
just
where we're
keeps
at.
surfacing, but nothing ever goes through. Okay, so, all right. I'm agreeing that, boy, there's nothing certain till it's certain. I mean, weird things can happen.
Oh, yeah.
But I think your general line of thinking I'm okay with, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and that's, we're just looking for cost effectiveness as
Yeah.
far as
Okay,
for next year's ask, try to dial that down. That was the whole goal.
okay.
So, anything else?
No, other than this second issue that I think it's important that we, you guys are aware, but.
Yeah, so in order to take this up, this is what the commission will need to amend the agenda, take up. In speaking with Sheriff Manu, what he wants to discuss does deal with an emergency situation that would not have been known until today. And so the commission would be on solid ground to amend the agenda to take this item up under 74-204 sub 4 sub C. It does deal with an emergency matter that's going to happen in the next couple of days. And the agenda would be amended to go into executive session under 74-206 sub 1 sub D, which contemplates law enforcement records, which I believe Mr. Sheriff Manu wants to discuss.
Okay.
With that, I'll make that motion of those numbers.
There you go. I think that.
That we go into executive session.
Amend the agenda.
And amend the agenda with means going into executive session.
Commissioner Bullock?